What does Fizz buzz mean to you? Wait, what? I said, what does Fizz buzz mean to you? It doesn't mean anything to me, sir. I've never heard of it before. You're fired. What? Why? Why would you do that? Because you don't know what Fizz buzz means. Wait, what? Why would I need to know what Fizz buzz means to run Twitter's HR department? Fine, you have 10 seconds to figure it out. Buzz, Fizz, 8, 7, Fizz, Buzz, 4, Fizz, 2, 1. I don't know, I still don't get it. Out. Elon Musk's absolute belief in code, artificial intelligence, and algorithms might very well turn Twitter 2.0 into a profit machine for his private company. But if you follow the money, there's a good chance that Twitter's algorithm looks a lot more like TikTok's very soon. Now, turning Twitter into TikTok might be good business, but it has lasting consequences for all of us. Because it means that we're not gonna see content anymore based on who we socialize with, but instead, we're gonna be shown content that the algorithm knows that we can't look away from, and that's very different. So in this video, we're gonna look at the difference between Twitter and TikTok's content curation algorithms, and what it might mean for you if the next time you log into Twitter, Elon Musk has updated it to work a bit more like TikTok. So the first thing you should know before we dive into how the algorithms work is that TikTok is not a social network. Now, it might feel like a social network because you can look people up, you can follow them, you can peek into their lives, but it's not. Because the vast majority of people spend their time on the infinitely scrolling homepage watching whatever the algorithm suggests, rather than content from your friends or even people you want to follow. So in that way, it just acts like one of the large media organizations from times past. Except it's customized to your unique desires, which is something that old media could have only dreamed of. So now let's do some comparisons between Twitter and TikTok. So I'm going to compare a bunch of parameters. We'll start with the content pool. So Twitter's algorithm will actually start wherever you click, the home, the explore, or the notifications tab. So it might show you about the national conversations that are happening, or it will curate from your friend group. Now, the way that the old algorithms worked is they would look at your friends, figure out everything that they're posting, and then the algorithm would select from that pool what it thought was most interesting to you for your newsfeed. And although revolutionary at the time, that pool has expanded from friends to friends of friends to now anybody who's on the entire platform. Now, TikTok saw this pattern and they took it to the complete extreme. This is the reason they got a jump on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter in the first place. They just looked at their whole platform and said, whatever is working the best, shove it in the faces of everyone. And we will find the best content on the entire platform, the thing that is the most viral, the most sticky, and then we'll start from there and curate out. And this is why there were so many success stories, people blowing up out of nowhere, because if you were a small creator without a following, but you made something that the algorithm determined was incredibly engaging, it just took that and threw it out there to everybody who was logging onto TikTok. They made it easy to be internet famous. Now, with social networks, there's something called preferential attachment. That basically means the rich get richer. When you have a big social network, it's even easier to accumulate more people into it. So it's kind of cool because TikTok just broke that system and said, hey man, if you make great content, we'll make you internet famous instantly. And honestly, would you rather hang out with the coolest girl at the party you're invited to, or the coolest girl in the entire world? And in digital form, when content scales infinitely, the coolest girl in the world always wins. And now let's talk about demographics. Not only does TikTok's algorithm show you what you didn't even know you wanted to watch, it's actually a platform that's full of the people who actually set trends in society. Young people. And to make the platform even more appealing to that generation, the app itself was phenomenally built in the sense that the filters and tools that you could use on the phone were unmatched. And the app has always been updated with the coolest filters, with ways to play games with your friends, with cool effects that you can put on yourself, post, get reaction from your friends. They always made it really simple to just keep everything enclosed in that one app, no need to go to other video editors. That was another powerful way that they really caught on in the early days. Now, in Twitter's case, it just wasn't the same thing. Twitter was already a platform that was mostly web-based. Of course, there was always a Twitter app, but in some sense, it was just giving you access to the platform. It wasn't really focused on the actual content creation, because when it comes to just writing some characters, a microblog, a tweet, you don't need anything super special. So they just weren't able to capitalize on that whole creative aspect that TikTok could. And if Elon wants to move Twitter in that direction, they're gonna have to make huge updates to the way that the app works and the features that are available. Now let's talk about the way government influence affects the two different social networks. The leadership at Twitter is primarily American, but the leadership at TikTok is primarily Chinese. And these governmental differences are definitely something to consider when you're comparing the two platforms. And keep that in mind because experiments show that in TikTok feeds, small changes changes in the algorithm, potentially a push of the button for somebody who's in charge at TikTok, can push people into a feed that becomes more of an echo chamber for either the far left or the far right, and that can bring people from a neutral position into a chosen style of political influence. Now, on top of that, the Pew Research Agency has found that 26% of all US adults under the age of 30 regularly get their news on TikTok. Now, this drops off really quickly. As you get older, you find that the people who are between 30 and 49 only get 10% of their news from TikTok, and people who are 50 to 64 only get 4% of their news from TikTok, and then just 1% for adults over 65. And just because Twitter's American, that doesn't really let us off the hook either, because Elon Musk is now the CEO of a private company that has an algorithm that influences 450 million people, and there's no reason why, as far as I understand, as CEO, he couldn't ask some questions about how the algorithm actually recommends things, make some adjustments either based on personal opinion or business decisions. So if you start seeing more like electric car content, solar power content, flamethrower content, brain-computer interface content, you might think, wow, Elon was right about the future. He predicted all this. Or maybe he's nudge, nudge, nudge. You know what I mean? We don't really know anymore. Now let's talk about the way that the algorithms capture your attention. The fact that it's harder to read a microblog. I mean, not that it's that hard, but you still have to actually type the words up. Someone else has to read the words, imagine it, and then comprehend it. Watching a 20-second video is just simply easier and faster to digest. Now there's already a trend to go from text to video, but that trend's just gonna increase under Elon's management, in my opinion. It just makes more sense that when you go into Twitter, you're just gonna boom, get hit with that vertical 20-second video. It's so engaging, you can learn so much from it. Just makes more sense in the long run. So even with all that other stuff that TikTok has done right, I would say that the most important thing that they did was just eliminate choice. When you open up TikTok, they decide what you watch, and for the most part, we'll kind of watch anything. And if you don't like it, you instantly have a quick way to move to the next piece of content, and at the same time, you signal to the algorithm what you like and what you don't like by paying attention to it. Choice is just simply a cognitive overload. We don't really like choice. It seems like we do, but we just sometimes want to zone out and let the machine make the decisions for us. And speaking of not having a choice, that brings us to our sponsor, which is nobody. We only have 677 subscribers at this point, but if you want to hit that subscribe button, you'd be doing me a solid, so I would appreciate that. I would love to get this channel a little bit higher so I could do it more full-time, potentially make some money on it. That would be great. And since we don't have a sponsor, I'll give you a little tip for your relationship. So whether it's spouse or loved one or whoever, if you ever kind of find yourself saying where do you want to eat, honey? No, where do you want to eat? And it turns into a thing, learn from TikTok, just present an option, and then if they swipe on it and they're no, I don't like, Mexican food, then you're whoop, how about the next one? They're no, I don't like Japanese. You're whoop, how about the next one? They're yeah, I'm in the mood for sandwiches. So that's actually just a good rule of thumb across the board. When you want to negotiate with someone, just present it, see if they like it, then try something else, present it, and eventually let them be the other end of the algorithm where they're just they choose what they like and what they don't like. It's a lot easier for them, helps everybody get to a solution much faster. Okay, now back to the video. Sorry, I went on a little tangent there. So now let's talk about the differences if you're a content creator for both Twitter and TikTok. I would argue on TikTok, and here's why. I'm primarily focused on YouTube for this curious technology channel, but we do have a TikTok, we do have a Twitter, and I just find it more fun on TikTok. Every once in a while, a video just kind of jumps a few thousand, and it gives me that dopamine rush. It makes me a little bit more excited, and there's an addictive quality to that I'm just not getting from Twitter. I need it! And it's kind of scary, but there's actually a chemical, a human chemical basis to all social networks, but TikTok has hijacked it a little bit more than the other ones. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter. It's a hormone, and that hormone makes you feel satisfied and happy, and you can get it from having success on TikTok. But more than that, one of the things you should know about dopamine hits from any of the social networks is that they're truly addictive. And I don't mean that as a metaphor, I literally mean that as neuroscience, as something that happens in your body that you can physically become addicted to. Most of the videos on TikTok get some amount of traction, maybe a few hundred or maybe a few thousand, but that little gambling system really can hijack your brain, and it might not even feel exciting to go post, but you will probably have some kind of level of agitation that goes away when you actually make a post and you see those likes. It's like being loved, getting attention, there's something very deep going on there. And now let's talk about the commenting style. This is the one that I'm most fuzzy. It's really hard for me to explain how different it is, but we all know it's very different. The types of comments that you see on Twitter and on TikTok are worlds apart. Okay, so full disclosure, I don't really comment on either of them too much, so I don't know from firsthand experience, but here is my outsider take on the different platforms and how people comment. Like I feel with Twitter, there's occasionally some really intelligent stuff out there. People actually want to like make a statement. Their microblog like matters to them. They want to be funny, they want to be creative, or they want to show something they've worked on, and then they want a real debate. Now in the political sense, it kind of devolves into like groups. I see that a lot too, but there's something about the conversation that feels like a town square or like a public gathering, or at least a table full of like friends and frenemies and enemies like all together. Like when it comes to TikTok, I feel like every comment is just sarcastic. Like I get this sense that they don't even watch the content as much as they vibe the content. They're like when you're seeing a comedy show, the guy that like yells something out so he can like interact with the comedian. Like there's something about them having their own little like moment of fame in your comment section. It doesn't ever feel like a real comment. If I'm just like vibing out, I actually like TikTok comments more because they just like, they're little troll comments or they make me laugh, or I take them like, I don't know, I just take them like less serious. Like they don't hurt as bad, even though sometimes they're more insulting. But anyways, that's just me. Maybe somebody in the comment section could explain the difference between Twitter and TikTok comments to me, because I really don't know, but they're different. And then from a learning point of view, the signals they get are similar, but there's something a little more powerful about how the data is tagged in TikTok versus Twitter. So in TikTok, imagine that you saw a prank video and you didn't skip over it. But then when it ended, a dog video came up, which you skipped. And next another prank video came up and you watched it completely. During that time, you've given TikTok a second to understand that there's a cluster of video types, which are prank types that you like, and dog types that you don't. Although it'd be exactly the opposite for me. I just want to see dog content. But that's just an example to show you how TikTok records everything, and then that labeled data, that data that you have given them based on your account profile, is now used to train your custom algorithm. And obviously that's just one variable. AI is capable of handling so many more variables. They could know the location you are when you do it, the time of day that you do it. They might have information about all of the months before you've been watching on TikTok, the things you've said on TikTok. There potentially could be even more information from your phone that I'm not even privy to that they're using to help figure out who you are. You know, they could be correlating it to the type of content you create, how much time you spend in the apps, what filters you tend to use versus what you do. I mean, that's the thing about artificial intelligence, is that it is a blank slate and it is fed data and it learns patterns, it adjusts weights and biases until it has an approximation of what you like. And there's no real way to go in there and say, oh, these are like the 5 variables that it considers. Like everything you do, if it's data, it's getting fed to the system and it's learning from your actions. But at the end of the day, the sum total is that both Twitter and TikTok are injecting new norms into our society, but TikTok is doing it at a faster, hyper speed. But in both cases, it's important that we recognize how this works, because if Elon does what I think he's gonna do, he's gonna kick that up a notch and it's gonna become a bit more like TikTok. And we can debate the nuances of which app does it in which way, but as long as you understand that when you walk away after looking at a social network, you are absolutely influenced. There is no getting around that. Me, you.
You. No, not me, you. Yes, I am you.
Everybody who uses it, we're just humans. We're susceptible to the algorithm. And like being aware of a problem that you have is the first step towards fixing it. Being aware of how social media apps work is the first step to handling whatever they do to influence you. Being aware of how all of these algorithms are moving in a direction, whether it's Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, or TikToks, and maybe now Twitter too, all of the major networks are going to zoom in, try to give you this hyper-focused vertical content. They're gonna take your data and they're gonna influence you in some way. Just be aware of it. Now, I don't really know how we would get to this future, but this is actually a pretty powerful way for us to achieve our own goals if only the algorithm were aligned with what we wanted in life. Like imagine a TikTok algorithm that's actually aligned with your personal development goals. If you're like, I wanna be a business leader, what if it just fed you everything that you need to know about business? It was all the examples that you wouldn't have seen anyplace else because it knows what kind of person you actually wanna be, and that's how it aligns its algorithm. I mean, that would be cool. But of course, it's not like we can go in and customize these algorithms to any real extent. It'll just show us more of what we're doing, but we can't say, go get all the stuff that makes me a better person. But that would be cool, wouldn't it? But I'm not holding my breath because right now, Facebook needs Reels to make a whole bunch of money so that they can fund their metaverse thing. Elon Musk needs to like prove his haters wrong and make a whole bunch of money. TikTok's already doing it, so they're just gonna keep funneling that money. And I just think it's just not gonna happen anytime soon. And as promised, from the comment section of our last video, here is a young African wizard with a beard and dreadlocks riding on a dragon, wizard emoji, dragon emoji. And if you guys want me to generate an image in the end of the next video, go ahead and drop it in the comments below. Also, let me know in the comments below if you think Twitter would be better with a more TikTok-like algorithm and interface, so I'd love to hear your thoughts.